morning, everybody. Welcome to the Northwest Florida. Hope everybody had a good breakfast and ready to go. We got a lot of stuff planned for you today. I'd like to bring up Nancy to introduce our speaker. Nancy.
What? No bio? No. I don't know how to behave here. We are, of course, very excited to have Kate Dunn back with us. Many of you have been in various seminars with her. You know the quality that you're going to be getting today. And you're going to have to buckle your seatbelts because it's going to be a high energy type thing. I'm going to give you some, for those of you who haven't had benefit of it, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her.
Which is basically this side of the room, yeah.
She's an award-winning leader in relevant cross-channel marketing. You hear that. We have been hearing that for several years. She regularly shares her expertise, so keep that in mind, because that's what you're going to be getting today, at industry events across the United States and abroad. She works with executives at print and marketing service providers. You folks are executives in that branch, and with equipment and technology vendors. She focuses on strategy, marketing, lead generation activity, and sales training programs. You're going to get some of all of that today, too. Prior to joining InfoTrends as the director of the Business Development Group, Kate was CEO and founder of Digital Innovations Group in Richmond, Virginia. I have to say that because there's Richmond, Texas. There's also a Richmond, Virginia.
Which is now like the happiest place in the U.S. It just was voted that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think Henry would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So.
Are you from Richmond? Yep.
We had a great time at breakfast talking about Tennessee.
Oh.
and I think we almost made Adam want to go back. So Kate started her professional career in marketing with Xerox Corporation. She left there after 15 years to join Choice Communications as Vice President of Marketing and Sales. And while she was there, Choice was recognized as a leader in relevant marketing. She has over 10 years experience in sales training. She's published more than 30 case studies. She's shared a number of those with you folks over the last few years. Those case studies were on marketing and selling advanced graphic communication services. She's frequently a presenter at industry events on all manner of subjects that involve integrated marketing and sales. Some of you, I know a number of you, participated in our 2013-2014 marketing certification program here. That was led by Kate, so you know how talented she is. Now today, as I mentioned at the top of my remarks, will be a very fast-paced day. We're going to be covering such critical issues as trends, those already in play, and those just over the horizons, workflow optimization. There's no one in this room that can't use that. I think you'll all agree. Web to print, which is critical for success in today's marketplace, and MIS or Management Information Systems, another critical component for efficient management. So, as I told you, I hope everybody did it. Buckle your seatbelts. You're in for an information-packed day. So let's make this wood floor room echo with applause for Kate Dunn.
Thank you. Okay, so nice to see everybody. So let's just go ahead and get started because I couldn't possibly add anything to that. So let's go. All right, so today our objectives for this first module, and I want to add that based on that conversation that we were having after dinner last night, I inserted a new module. So you are not going to have those slides, but we'll get them to you following. That kind of focused on that whole smartphone dilemma that we were talking about yesterday. All right, so today our objectives for this first module is understand what customers want, how they're getting it or not getting it. Understand the productivity focus of your competitors. Okay, so how is the rest of the industry focused on improving their productivity? And we'll talk about why a lot. And then where's the opportunity for you guys? All right, now there's some new faces, a couple over here. Can I find out what roles you play in your company?
I'm the account executive.
Okay. Okay, so sales mostly.
Well, it's a small company, so
a little bit. Okay. Okay, great.
Typesetting and graphics.
Okay, so you're pre-press kind of, okay. And then Mike, is it, with the beard? Okay, now what's your role at your company?
Production, basically.
Okay. Okay, and then your production as well, right? It's general managery kind of, okay. And then Adam?
I'm with Page Bath.
Oh, that's right. Okay, and then Jared?
Taking orders, new sales.
Taking orders. Okay. Okay, first off, don't ever say that again. Okay, estimating, and then IMTIAS. Okay, I got to put the accent in the right place. Okay, and you're an owner, right?
No title.
No title, just jack of all trades. Okay.
Everything.
All right, well, what's interesting about today's topic is that it has to do with everybody's business and everybody's role in the business. So that should make it all really relevant. And then for our people that are salespeople, I want you to think about the things that we talk about as it pertains to your business and workflow, how that would relate to your customers. Okay? So that's also important. Okay, so we've broken this down. We're just going to kind of do some simple basics, which you guys probably know. So if it gets like really boring, just yell and we'll switch on to something else, because I'm sure there's a million things we can talk about. And I broke this out and I kind of did, the 3 Ps for customer interface, administration, and production. We have a summary and we have a workshop activity. So you're going to get to move around and talk to each other and start to work on a plan for your own business. Okay, so let's start. The first part of this, very heavy data. And that's what InfoTrends is known for. But I thought it was important to get the perspective of what the rest of the industry is focused on, what's happening in the industry. So you've got all this stuff that you can pour over at your delight in your book. So we won't, drill down on every aspect of this data. We'll just kind of talk about the bigger points of it. So this question is, this slide just basically shows you that we have a wide variety of businesses that were in this study, which was the U.S. Production Software Investment Outlook. So you can see we have both implants. Everybody knows what an implant is, right? An implant print shop in somebody's enterprise. And then businesses like yourselves that do this stuff to get paid, okay? Does that make sense? All right, and then the other kind of point to set up the data is, here's the breakdown on number of employees. So what you can see is, you had a pretty spread out group here, going from as small businesses of 1 to 4 employees up to the big huge ones of 249, which is going to matter. In some of them I broke it out by size, so you can see like your direct competition. But the point of this slide is the people that we asked these questions of, it was everybody in the industry. Okay, now I also pulled out, and we'll talk about that, the implant stuff. Why would I do that? Why would I include that? Marilyn?
They're just not motivated by the same set of factors that we are.
Yeah, they don't have to make money.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I think this is an opportunity, a sleeping opportunity, okay? Because you could make a case that nobody should really have an implant print shop anymore. Okay, so we'll talk about that, because I want you to, if you have customers that do, you need to think about what that selling proposition would be for them to get rid of it and give you the work. Okay, and the workflow is going to come into play, because how do you get that back and forth as easily as possible? Okay, so here's the breakdown and size of numbers. I thought this might be interesting. Implant print facilities, there's still a lot of them. Okay, so over 9,000 that would be considered a printing department, like they have a press of some sort, they have digital printing equipment. And then there's another 35,000 of these implant copy shops. I have a digital copier. It may be manned some of the time, not manned other times, but that's an awful lot of places, and also people that are investing in equipment and people. So that's the thing you want to remember. And then there's the implant data centers, which is probably not where you would focus. Okay. So the question of this is, what does everybody want? Okay, so we've seen this slide for those of you that took the marketing certification program a number of times. But it's important to keep in focus like what your customers think they want. And what they think they want is a broad range of services and capabilities. Why would they want that? Yeah, I don't have to go to 15 people, right? Okay, competitive pricing. Why would they want that? Okay, notice they said competitive, not lowest pricing. That was an option, and they didn't say that, okay? Competitive pricing and the ability to handle faster turnaround, okay? And then if you keep on going down that list, comprehensive services to reduce the number of vendors, web enablement Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so, web enablement, job ordering, order asset, collateral management, things like that. Does everybody know what those things are? Asset management, collateral management. Everybody good with those? Okay. All right, so now here, what are the most profitable business areas for your business, typically? For businesses like yourself, and you can see there's the total all the way to the left, then commercial, and then corporate, and that's the implants. Okay, so you're going to begin to see that the implants are not keeping up with the print for pay businesses in terms of where their focus is, which is why I think that's an opportunity for you, okay? So when you look at this, digital printing is making everybody the most money, the most profit, followed by wide format printing. Now does everybody have wide format now? Pretty much? Anybody not? Let's go that way. Okay, a few people. Huge growth area, okay? And we can talk about that, and we have talked about that in the marketing services certification, so we'll bring that in. Next, offset printing. Now, what do you think is happening to that number? Drop down, and we'll see that in a minute. But then creative services and fulfillment and finishing, so the rest of sort of that suite to take it through the entire process. Okay? Now, what do you notice about the commercial versus the corporate?
Commercial's got more options.
Yeah. Now, okay, so look at that. Like, look at the difference. They're still a lot more reliant on offset printing for where their, in this case, volume is coming from. But look, they're really low on creative services. Maybe there's another department to do that. They don't see that as valuable. Really low on, fulfillment services, low on finishing, and then non-existent in marketing services, online services, things like that. Okay, so what is that? What's the insight to gather from that for those 35,000 plus 9,000 implants that are out there?
Opportunity.
Yeah, because like if I want to ramp up now, we know what the customers wanted. What do the customers want? A broad range of services, competitive pricing, and what was the third thing? Turnaround. We know what the customers want, and if I'm not giving it to them as the implant, what's going to happen? Right. Okay, so opportunity for you guys. And the web to print is going to be critical to that. Yes?
The only problem competing against implant services and processing and corporate people is that you're not competing with the customer, or you're not communicating. The customer has no call in your customer. It's usually a large corporate board decision whether they have implant processing. It's a money decision at that level.
Right. Okay, so what good, that's a good point.
I'll give you an example. We've got a large hospital in Temple.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very large. And they released their implant printing a few years ago, but they released it to a much larger commercial printer.
Right.
And this decision was made way up here at the top, not
Right.
down in the area where they need to work. So as a result, it has helped us that they did that because each department is our customer.
Okay.
And they will call us and say, can you do this in 2 days? Because they know that the guy that's doing it up here, just like the implant was, can't turn it around that quickly.
Okay. Okay.
But, to compete with that process, though, is very difficult.
Okay. I think that's a good point. Now, maybe
What they can do is offer services they don't offer, which you can look at.
yeah, but you can also figure, if you look at that, those big companies that are coming in and they want to do the bigger enterprises and do the whole thing, like an R.R. Donnelley. Can somebody give me another potential competitor in that R.R. Donnelley range?
Well, the company that I'm referring to here is referred to as Melmax.
Okay.
They're very large.
Yep, I know them.
Printing in Texas.
Okay, so yeah, I know exactly who those. So you have those guys, which is a big regional player.
Big.
Yeah, but the point is, like, they're not talking. That when they go in to talk to someone, they're not talking to the print shop guy. Like, what jobs could you outsource? They're talking higher up the food chain, and they're talking about their pitch is basically, why do you want to spend money on this print shop? You're a hospital. Like, you're not doing it efficiently. You have employees with pensions in that print shop. It costs you a lot of money. And you're way behind. So if you want to get where you need to be, it's going to require a lot of investment. So if you're a hospital, do I want to make that investment? Probably not. Okay, now sometimes they will. I think there's a security issue here that's causing people to sort of rethink, do I want that in-house or not, kind of thing. So some other factors play in. But now, so let's take your situation. Let's call that, we'll come up with models as we go through the day. So model 1 is, I have a major enterprise, the hospital, who says, I don't want to do this anymore. I pick a vendor to do that, which maybe you couldn't have played in that because you're more small and don't have the reach, but then you have, maybe outsource opportunities off contract, if you will, okay? Now model 1. All right, and now we're gonna come up with some other models as we go, okay? All right, so franchise, I thought it would be interesting too to input. This just came out, which is why it wasn't in the original deck. It came out on April 1st and we had this stuff ready before that. But the franchise sales by job, so we just saw how universally all the printers are making money. This is the franchise side of things, okay? So you can see still, really big on digital color, really good on offset, and then brokered offset or brokered stuff, okay? So I looked at what did that look like between 2012 and 2014. So the most recent numbers are close of business 2014, okay? So here's just what it looked like in 2012. So you can start to see things that we talked about in the marketing service certification class, which is the market's changing. So offset down. Makes sense, should have been down. A little surprised it wasn't down more, but I think I know why. Keep going, black and white digital should be down, but it's not drastic. Color digital should be up, and it's not. Okay, so think about that. Wide format should be up, and it is. Finishing and mailing goes along with what you're printing and stuff, so that should stay kind of hand in hand. Web services, brokered. So what's happening is, to me, it looks like I am doing more digital color. I'm not doing it in-house. Okay, why would I not be doing it in-house?
Cheaper to get somewhere else.
Okay, there you go. So I'm doing it, I can get it just as well from someplace else. So that's what's happening. That's where that volume's going. Because overall numbers, the growth is in digital color. So you're getting it, but you're just not doing it.
You see that comparison between 2004 and 2014?
Yeah, you'd have you'd have higher digital black and white, lower digital color, higher offset, no wide format, So it would be radically changed from 2000, okay? All right, so print services offered by the people who make money at it, so the commercial, print for services pay. This data is, do you offer the following print-related services? So you're seeing huge numbers. Nobody's in business today who doesn't have digital color. Like you might as well, pack up shop. Digital black and white, still a lot. Offset printing, a lot. Wide format, you start to see people still not in it, but I plan to in the next 12 months. If they're not doing it in the next 12 months, then you need to, are you outsourcing it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you have another way to get it and offer your customers, then that's probably a good, business by business, whether that makes sense. If you're not there, the horse is going to be out of the barn, or the cow. Okay, because now what we're going to start to see more and more of it, lower and lower margins. Okay, so warehouse fulfillment services, but the big things, I think I circled these. Okay, so corporate facing online print ordering. That's got the highest percentage, or one of the higher percentages. I'm going to add it. Okay, consumer facing online print ordering. What's the difference between corporate and consumer?
People versus a corporation.
Yeah, so it's basically the Vistaprint model versus I have a corporate portal for just, that customer and their work. So you're seeing growth in both those areas, and then I circled this morning because we had a conversation about dinner. It's like presentation on demand. There's where you sit with your 3D printing. Okay, so there's a fair amount of people thinking they need to get in there. Still a lot of people thinking no. It's not even on my horizon, okay? But once you start to get into like 20%, that's starting to be a trend, okay? So you're going to see, I think, more and more people. Why? Why am I looking so desperately for other stuff? Exactly. I need to find something I can, which is what happened with wide format, which was like this herd ran over to wide format because I had higher margins over there. And now the herd is going to move to 3D because I have higher margins there. And, then that'll end up, at some point being more and more competitive. But that's way down the road, I think. It was easier to do that with wide format because it's just bigger stuff. 3D is different. Okay? Print services offered on the corporate side. Okay? So now this goes back to my thought process that you want to find these small implants. Okay? Because look what's happening. Okay, they all have the print stuff. Okay? But then you start getting into sort of the more I can do it all, one-stop shop, more value-added services, and they're like not even thinking about stuff. Why in the world would they not have portals? Makes absolutely no sense at all. You have a captive customer base. Okay? So, when I look at this, I'm like, boy, these guys are, now some of them are good, okay? But there's a lot of opportunity here. They're not meeting the demands of their customers. And I'll tell you a little story. I may have told this. We do, when we're training like a Xerox or a Ricoh or Konica Minolta Salesforce, we always have a panel of printers. It's like everybody's favorite thing. So we have like 3 or 4 printers come in from various size companies, and they get to interview them, like in a Phil Donahue kind of a way. Okay? So they want to, it's for them to hear what customers want and learn from them. Okay, so when we have implants on that panel, and they're, the print manager, the general manager of the implant, they will say things like, no, we don't have any web to print because our customers like to come and see us. Okay, think about that. Well, how do they submit jobs? Oh, they come down and fill out a job ticket. Well, have you thought about automate? No, people like it. It gives them something to do. Okay, so you're kind of like, okay. And then we had a major transportation implant on, and the biggest thing they do is the schedule. And I said, well, tell me what's changing about the way you do that. Oh, we don't do that. We outsource it. So the most important application for that entity, they don't even do. Yes?
Well, an implant, though, also is an option.
Right.
They don't have to be competitive. They don't have to be concerned. They're told, again, from the top down, this is what you have to operate with. There's no competition within there.
Actually, I in some cases, you're absolutely correct. And that's called, they have like the first right of refusal. I don't know, I have this statistic, I may not have put it in here, I'll have to go and check. Not all print facilities are like that. They aren't first right of refusal. So basically they're competing with you guys for the work. The end users can go outside. So you've got departments that are going directly to you, even though there's a global contract, which theoretically they should be working through the contract, and they're not because they're not getting the service that they need from the contract. Well, the same thing happens if you're, hey, I want you guys all to use the print shop. If it's not what I want, I go outside and get it, yes.
The point that he's making, which I agree with, is that the implant manager doesn't care. He's got a budget. He's going to do the same work regardless.
Right, okay, good.
He's not going to compete.
Good point, except why should he care?
Oh, because his manager could eventually look at how much he's spending and here's
That's true, but that's, unlikely.
Actually,
well,
we're starting to see, from InfoTrends, we do work for the implants as well, and I'm starting to see signs again that we're going to have, and we had this, 10 years ago, like a big influx of outsourcing. We don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, because, and the key thing is people are expensive. Okay, they're not, when we get to the automation slides, they're not automated. They have people doing stuff. People cost money. If I want to automate that because I'm the COO and I realize that's costing me too much money, the cost of automation now is another expense, and I got other things to spend money on. So they're in kind of a place where I know and I would even, you could argue some of them don't even know where they need to be, but at some level, I know I need to cut costs out of the business, just like you guys do. I'm not offering a full wide range of services, so I know I have a job to do here. But they're going to battle over resources at the corporate level. I need a new press that's bigger and faster and can do things in shorter amount of time. Why should I spend money on that? I could spend it on, if I'm a bank, something that banks do. Okay, so I think that you're right. They often don't care, but they're going to end up out of a job at some point. Like, not caring is not good. Yes.
Yeah, we have a customer like that. They got bought out by a bigger corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And we still get jobs from this customer, but only when it needs to be done, within a timeline.
Right.
Only when it's a complex job.
What does that tell you?
Well, people want to send stuff from Fairfax, Virginia to Kansas, and get it mailed back to Fairfax, Virginia.
Well, that's
It takes
true.
a week for that to happen.
Yeah.
We can do it the next day, and it's in their customer's mailboxes or whatever it may be.
Okay, so now, I mean, I want to make sure I get the point. So their print shop is not physically located near them?
Yeah, but
Okay,
they submit it all online.
okay,
But there is competition within the mailboxes.
yeah.
Within implant, I guess, companies, print shops within companies.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and especially in that scenario where I have a remote hub, kind of a hub spoke thing with my, but I think most of your opportunity is going to be places where the implants, you already have the opportunity that you're talking about now because they have faster turnarounds than they can deliver just because of physical distance. What?
So we're twice as expensive. So.
Well, yes.
You know, a lot of times there's a restriction. We have a customer come in and they call it bulk. The union printers,
Oh, yeah.
that is another problem. I mean, we are much better price-wise, service-wise, but still, they pay a fee, so they get,
Right. And you're not union, probably thankfully. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you can't sell something to everybody, so that's probably not a good fit, like that situation. Yes.
At one point, Danny used the Scott White analogy. Most of the companies that our centers are doing business with are going to be much smaller than that.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them small companies do have small implants.
Sure.
And those are the ones I think that we can target.
Yeah, that 35,000 number is the place we want to go to. They're pretty much just digital, don't have offset at all. They're probably outsourcing that. If you guys remember, I think from a statistic I might have showed in another class, 58.4% of an enterprise's work they aren't doing in the implant. Okay, so they're already outsourcing that. So if you were getting that, for instance, already, like you would have a good case for, hey, why do you have that small copy center anyway? We're already doing your offset. We could do that as well. We could do your large format. We could do those other services, which we know from that other graph I showed you, your customers want to go one place for everything. Okay? So there's opportunities there, and we'll talk about everybody's point here has been a valid one. It's not, it's a big world out there, so there's going to be situations of all types, okay? Digital services, so this is, you guys, this is the inside of that digital services, so you can see, I think I circled it, yeah, like the big growth areas, personalized email marketing, social media marketing, mobile text marketing, which kind of plays into the dinner discussion last night. So you guys already are, are doing more of the digital services than the implants are, and you're also adding them at a faster rate. But you can look and see like your competition, there's still plenty of people that aren't doing any of that. So if I want to, if I'm duking it out with a competitor and I know people want one-stop shopping and they can't give you that stuff, like that's a big element of my value proposition. We could do it all. And that gets into that sort of packages conversation we were having last night at dinner. Put it all together because we know that's what they want. Okay? Digital services on the corporate side. Now look at the difference. Look at the red band versus the red band on the implants. Look at the yellow band versus the yellow band on the implants, which is I'm gonna get this, okay? And then look at the green, okay? They're like, they may see it, but they're not going there. So what does that tell you about the future for them? Well, I mean, bleak, but like it's just going to continue, unless they start making big investments in what they're doing, this gap is going to continue to be there, which means opportunity for you guys. Okay, so the big takeaway, well, I think I've got a summary coming up, but like think about if I stumble across one of those 35,000, copy center implants, it's bigger than just, hey, yeah, we'll do your business cards for you while you do all that. It's a bigger conversation for my salespeople at a higher level about why do you have it at all. Okay? All right, so in a nutshell, like that, haha, small implant printing or copy centers within your accounts are an opportunity for you. They're offering fewer digital services, they aren't completely meeting the needs of their end users, and they're looking at a path that's going to require significant investments in software, hardware, and maybe technical expertise. Their people don't have the knowledge to do all this digital stuff. So if they want to ramp up, they've got, a big barrier there, okay? And that weakness is an opportunity for you guys, okay? So the value proposition is going to be like, hey, we can use our workflow tools and our web to print to improve it, give you even better convenience than you have now. You just do it at your desktop. You don't have to walk to the basement and fill out a form. Okay, improved turnaround because you have digital services, you have more automation, a wider range of services. So instead of just a large format, you also need, so let's say you're doing a signage for a trade show, you also need sales collateral and trinkets and all that stuff for the whole thing. We can help you with everything versus the implant that can do a piece of that. Does that make sense? All right.
Scott White Hospital in Temple. That's one of the reasons one of their departments continues to come to us because she knows she can work one-on-one with us and we'll give her some better ideas or fix her artwork. Whereas if she took it to their implant, they'd print exactly what she gave them.
You know what? That's a good point. Like, I didn't even put that in here. When those big companies come in and do this automation, and now you've got a web to print system, and you're supposed to do it all online and everything, they lose a little of that hand holding.
One-on-one.
Yeah. And so that's the fit for you guys. They need hand holding. They may have a big enterprise. Now this is model one where big enterprise, doing as much as they can do, but then there's these spot needs. The value is exactly what you said. Like we can do it pretty well, we can do it at a pretty good price, and you can work with us, which they're not necessarily going to have with a standard register. There's nobody there trying to figure that out. There's an account rep that's selling that to them globally.
They're 8 to 5. You bring a complex job into them, why should I mess with it?
Right.
I'll just sit, because I get paid the same, I'm here 8 hours, I'll just run all these easy jobs. Well, as a manager, I'll take all those complex jobs, I'll do them and get them back for you. So the people will call us direct now versus going through their plant, and we'll do the jobs anyway. And the other thing is, when they do an in-house plant, it's not real money. They have to give us a P card.
Right.
And if they do paper trail through the other way, it's kind of like, well, it really didn't hit my budget.
Mm-hmm.
This does. So that's one of the other problems you have when they come directly to you.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that's
But
completely
right,
true.
you can't hold it.
Yeah.
They'd rather have that.
Yeah, and if they don't want the hand holding, that's probably not a good fit for you, because that's part of your value, and part of the reason your price is a little higher is because we're working with you one-on-one. Okay, so I think we covered all those. Another thing for implant space. There's a segment of the population, and we're seeing a lot with colleges and college implants, where okay, we're taking up space somewhere, for this implant print facility with printers and binding equipment and stuff like that. And then the school's saying, you know what, I need that for something else. Like I need that for classrooms, I need that for another business enterprise on campus, I need that floor space. They look at either these big companies that come in and take it over, or like a Xerox, not the customized print solution, because the CPS services they do on site, but there's another arm of it whose name is escaping right now that you outsource it to a plant somewhere else. So they looking to companies to come in and automate the process from the end user standpoint and do the work somewhere where it's not on campus and they don't have those floor space concerns. So I would think hospital too, like I need to make money in that hospital. Every piece of that floor needs to be turning some kind of revenue. I mean, even if they're a nonprofit, it needs to be paying for itself. Hospitals are really expensive to operate. So they may have a situation where it's like, hey, we can put a laser clinic in there or something like that, and we don't need that floor space. So that's another kind of thing that we're starting to see a lot of. All right, so let's look at specifically at automation. So this is a scale of 1 to 10. We asked the commercial printers, remember there was a wide range of them. Where are you on the automation scale with each of these services? So basically none of the means were at 5, so nobody was even halfway good, okay? So there's lots of room for improvement there. Strategic business direction on automation. So the question is, which initiatives best describe your strategic business direction? The maroon is you guys, the yellow is the implants, okay? So there, the implants sort of see, look at that yellow there, 81.4, I need to cut costs and improve efficiency. They see that. But what do I need to be able to do that? I need to spend a lot of money, okay? You guys also think that's important. But you're also seeing this start to jump out, which is focus on specific verticals. You know, so I can be an expert in a few things as opposed to anybody, you know, anybody knocks on the door, I have to do it, okay? So that's sort of like how the strategic business things stack up between the two. Top workflow initiatives. So what are your priorities for 2015? So remember, commercials, your competitors, improve customer interaction via web-based systems. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. Expand workflow features so I can offer new services and do them efficiently. Pretty big. Cross-training staff, which seems kind of counterintuitive. Like, why wouldn't you have done that? Okay, but there's, again, some big important things. Reduce manual labor with software investments. So everybody, your competitors as well as the implants, know that they have to take cost out of the system, cost out of what they produce. So they're looking at stuff like that. And I think probably that cross-training element is, if somebody leaves, I don't want to have to replace them because people are expensive. Okay? So now this question was, how would you describe your ownership of the following software solutions? So here's what your competitors have. Creative layout, everybody's got that. Color management, digital workflow management, variable data, and on down the list. That middle is what you're looking at for workflow, print MIS, web to print, conventional offset workflow management. So that they have or are planning to get on most cases, or planning to, let's say, planning to improve. Because they probably have something. They just need it to be better. Does that make sense? So the big takeaway there is your competitors are trying to cut costs out of their business. Because why? Yeah, they need to be able to sell the product at the price the market will bear and be profitable. So I have to take costs out of the business. Okay? How much are your competitors spending on software? I thought this might be interesting to you, and this is where I broke it out by size. So like you're going to be down there with that 1 to 19 employees in that bucket. So, 25%, so a fourth are spending nothing virtually. 55, the big chunk is spending somewhere between $5,000 and $25,000 a year on software. And then you start to see, for the much smaller percentages for making bigger investments. Okay, but look at the vast difference between the bigger companies and the smaller companies. What does that tell you? What? Yep, well, they have it to spend.
Yeah,
okay.
And the volume you're doing, it depends on what it's all proportional. If you're selling 63 million versus 18,000, there's dollar difference.
Spend money to make money.
Well, yep, exactly, yes.
Nowadays, you don't have to own the software, like cloud-based software.
That's in here. You don't have to own it. If you're paying for software, that's included. Yeah. Definitely a good way to go because it requires less of a hardware investment. You can invest in the software. So the big takeaway here is you compete with bigger companies. When you lost that account, Sparkles, you lost it to a pretty big sized enterprise. How big were they? Okay, so big company spending a lot to continue to automate their processes. Okay, you guys are competing with them, whether it's daily or occasionally, and you're not making the same investments. So you're going to be more people-centric than software-centric. It's going to cost you more to produce stuff. Okay, so
There's a limit, practical on what does it cost? If you already got Adobe online and you've got all of their software, all your digital stuff comes with the latest software. You've got a Print Smith or something else. There's a limit where you can just spend money on software.
yeah.
It's not all that expensive.
No, it's really not. I mean, and again, you have to look at, and we're going to do some exercises later. I think a lot of times, I heard somebody say last night, it might have been you, I just can't, no, it was you. I just can't afford that. it might have been in the tail end of the Prince Smith Vision conversation, and it has so much stuff, and I'm really paying, which, by the way, for those salespeople, the absolute wrong way to sell that. That's why you get burned on that. If you know specifically what somebody needs, then you just sell them that. Even if your software can do all kinds of other things, if you're like, and we can, and we can, and we can, you're telling that person, I'm paying for something I'm not going to use. Okay, so that's why when you do a demo, you say, here's what you wanted to see, and if you see what you want to see at the end of this, are you ready to move forward? And they say yes, and you show them just that.
The thing is, it doesn't cost them anything more to give you full access. So if they can sell you full access, then they're making more money. It's like Adobe, you can get, Acrobat for $20 a month, or you can get the whole
Thing, kit and caboodle. Yeah.
Well, that's after you sell them the product.
Yeah, you can always add in.
And then we have an add-on if you want, you're interested, or I can come back to you Leslie, but it's only $10 more a month. You may think about it.
It's basically the move of a lazy salesman.
Okay.
Because the salesman's saying, okay, I got trained on all my competitors and a feature advantage benefit, sort of matrix. We do all these things, they do some of it. Woohoo, that's why we're better. And so I'm not taking the time to understand this particular prospect. I'm just going to, regurgitate why somebody told me we were better, but it has nothing to do with this customer. And then you get exactly that response. I'm paying for stuff I don't need. Yes.
I mean, and this is kind of an aside, it's on this topic, but one of the things that tweaks my nose is my accounting software.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because we have to have a print shop management software for inventorying and jobs and invoicing and all that stuff that comes in my Peachtree that I never touch.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I still have to pay for, and they, force me to change versions every 3 years and upgrade everything and buy a lot of stuff that I will never use.
So what would you be looking for then from a vendor?
Well, GAAP accounting is GAAP accounting. I mean, you either accrue it or you pay it.
Right.
So from the standpoint of, a good, nice, robust general ledger P&L that's not trying to be the world, I would have a feeling that there's a lot of industries like ours that have to have some sort of unique business management software that isn't supported in the QuickBooks of the world.
Yeah, so that's why you buy stuff like Print Smith and Printer's Plan, because it's specific to your business. But you want to look for, as you guys start to look for, trading those out, looking for new solutions, you need it to be scalable, because ultimately you may need some of that stuff, you just don't want to pay for it now.
Right.
And so finding a solution that lets you add in modules cost effectively would be the right way to go. Okay. All right, so we did this. All right, annual spending. And so while we were on the software thing, I thought you might be interested in how much people spend on hardware. We're not really focused a lot on that today, but here's your comparison. Okay. So, again, the bigger companies, if I showed you that version of the slide, the bigger companies are investing more in the hardware because they have more to invest. Planned equipment purchases. So this is critical because, look what they want to add. Finishing. Okay, finishing, that sounds cool. What's inside of that? Why do I want to add finishing? What?
Helps automate and
Yeah, it's not just another service like we can hole punch or whatever. They're basically saying, I need to automate as much of that production process as possible because people are expensive. So now, we're looking at, and we'll talk about this later, there's islands of automation, and now they're like, well, finishing is a big gap in that typical way that companies automate. They work on maybe their pre-press, and then maybe they go back for a little MIS, they do things, and they kind of leave out finishing, and now people are like, wow, that's costing a lot of money. So let's look at finishing options that can streamline that. They're also, again, investing in digital large format, digital black and white. That's got to be skewed towards specialists, because it doesn't really make sense that the general line would be buying black and white engines. So I think we must have had enough specialists in there, like data processing opportunity, implants and stuff like that, where black and white is still huge. Okay, So,
And you know, the thing that's so amazing when you think about finishing and some of this input stuff is, it seems to me that in a lot of instances, the people who are making the decisions to bring something in-house that had been outsourced have no scope of thought process of what, I mean, we have a customer that we used to do, in fact, we still do some, but did a lot of books and manuals for them. They were full color. And somebody thought, oh, this is just, we're spending too much money with these outsourced vendors, so we're going to bring this in. I mean, they physically gave these people a closet with a little stand-up copier. You can't even put the paper in.
okay, I used to sell equipment. This is how this happens. What are you spending outside? It's one of the prime questions. Oh, we spent $200,000 last year on color. Oh, well, I can put a machine in here for $150,000. Oh, makes all the sense in the world. They're not making that person consider who's going to run it, what happens when we have a tight turnaround, and am I going to have to pay overtime for them to stay all overnight? If they are doing it now, what aren't they doing? What did they give up to spend time doing this? Like, the equipment vendor is not going to have that conversation, because I don't want you to think of all that. If you thought of all that, you wouldn't want it. Okay? So those are, if you need, that's where you would focus. Hey, you have to look at that total cost. Okay? Now remember, we had a statistic, the iceberg. For every $1 that you spend outside, so when I say, what did you spend with printers last year? And the person says $100,000. For that $100,000, I incurred internally between $6 and $14 worth of cost. So that's like, hey, what are you now signing up to do? You're going to increase those costs. So if you're one of the business that's I'm spending $6 for everything else, and now I bring that in-house, that's going to shoot up. Does that make sense? It's going to be 10%, maybe up to the 14. I'm going to spend more internally to get it done, vis-a-vis the comparison for just the print. So basically, they're going to spend more. It's going to, and that's not their core business. And a lot of people do that because they're looking at that big chunk budget line. Oh, we spent $200,000, $100,000, $50,000, whatever the number is, with printers.
That's their executive board making that decision, and once it comes down from there, you're kind of stuck.
Well, but you need to argue, like, I mean, if you're a salesperson, you need to try to get in front of them, because you're not signing up for, I'm going to buy that one piece of equipment and list it today, and lease it. And it's going to, I'm going to save $30,000 a year, which is how the equipment salesperson is going to present that. You're signing up to keep buying equipment for the rest of your life. And have a service contract that's going to increase over time. I heard someone talking about an end-of-life product. Oh, that was you guys. When things get near end of life on service, what happens to the cost of the service? Okay, so I can't look at this in a vacuum, and that's what the equipment salesperson's trying to make them do. Look at it in a vacuum. You've got to say to them, hey, well, how often is this going to have to be upgraded in order for you to be competitive? What's the increase in manpower costs? What else are they not doing now that they're busy running prints? And
because you've got a copier, you're not through. You got
yeah,
to finish your part.
exactly.
And then you need another person. So now you've got two people. Now you're going to take up 600 square foot versus 300.
Yeah. And so now it's not just the printer. I need binding stuff. I need space. It's a lot of money. Okay, but the equipment person's not going to focus on that. Okay? All right, and then I just threw this in because I myself find it interesting. Growing companies, the companies that are growing by 10% or double-digit growth in our business are projecting to spend a lot more money on training. Okay, and there's the bucket: software training, web development, web to print, new product development, sales processes and strategies, marketing strategies. So they're going to spend more on expertise, getting expertise. Print service provider. Okay. All right, so here's your in a nutshell for that section. So your competitors are, projecting to spend more on their business, expanding the services that they offer, improving and streamlining how they interact with customers, which is web to print, improving productivity, reducing employee costs. The growing businesses understand that it's not just about software and automation, it's also about the expertise of the people using the software and automation. And then for smaller businesses with fewer resources, if this is what your competitors are doing, you have to look at how you can compete. You have to do this in a phased approach, though. So you're going to have to begin to prioritize where the biggest problems are, because you can't just come in and say, I'm going to buy Avanti for $250,000 and fix it all at once, because you don't have those resources. So you can still make strategic investments for your business to improve what's happening. You just can't do it all in one fell swoop like the big guys. Okay? Here's the trends on. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. Print volumes. And so now we're starting, let's turn our focus towards the web to print stuff. What percentage of your total print volume is produced on your site, submitted through web portal? 22.6%. 18.6% is variable. Only 9.1% is a completely automated workflow, which should be like lights out type of, it comes in over the line, over the internet, goes right into production, like what Vistaprint does. Nobody's touching it. Okay, so there's still very little business, less than 10%, that's fully automated. Yes.
You work with Xerox, right?
Mm-hmm. But that was a long time ago.
I have a question: is why, Xerox failed, drastically lately? Do you have any idea?
Say that again.
Xerox, there's the beginning of every software, Apple, Windows,
Uh-huh.
they all copied from them.
Yeah.
But they failed quite drastically.
Yeah, because they were a box company. They've started to get that now. Okay, they get that now. But go back 20, 30 years, like we sell boxes and make money. So they had Park, which was out in California, where they were doing the mouse and WYSIWYG and all these wonderful things. And then they didn't know what to do with it, because we're a box company. We sell boxes and clicks. So that goes, actually good point to make, because what kind of company are you? If you're a printer, if you see yourself, well, what do you guys see yourself? What do you think you are? You think you're a printer? Any other options? Or does everybody think they're a printer? Because you went through the certification program. Okay.
It says
Okay.
I am.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's on my card.
That's what we said.
Yeah, well, but in solutions could be anything. Yeah. I mean, the reality of that is, if I see myself as a printer, it's like if I have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Like, I'm a printer, that's what I do. You're going to be blind to everything else. The opportunity for, just exactly like with Xerox. Suppose they had developed that WYSIWYG and the mouse, they'd be Apple and Xerox today, combined. That'd be huge, okay? Literally. But they didn't see it, because we're a copy company. If you see yourself as a printer, you're going to be blind to all those other ways to make money, because it's not what we do. I think solutions, I used to be the biggest solutions person on the face of the earth, but you know what? It's been watered down. You're a communication company. What does print do? Print communicates with prospects and customers. We help you communicate.
Let me ask you, why did they make those decisions? Sometimes those decisions are made because they don't want to. IBM did that when the PC was invented. They did
Oh, yeah.
not want to do the PC.
Yeah. No, that's true. Did you work at IBM?
I was one of their biggest customers.
Yeah. They didn't know what they had.
They did, but they made a corporate conscious decision. We will not put a desktop computer in one of our businesses. They will stay attached to the mainframe.
Yeah. What dumb move.
It was stupid.
Yeah.
Started off with combat.
Well, but so the point of that is that we could come up with hundreds of businesses that have done that. You don't want to be that. Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Another question. You have a very good experience with the Clear Choice. That's communicating, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you say communicating, doesn't it sound like, phone service provider?
Yeah, it does.
Internet provider. Not really, you are providing the print services.
No, I completely agree. I think, when everybody changed their name to communications company, then your name doesn't say what you do anymore, and that's confusing. So the only way for that to work is if you have a really good, strong marketing and a marketing, focus, because then you got to you got to teach people what that means on a broad scale. Well, we, as small businesses, we don't have that kind of money. So that's what ends up happening. Like I look in the phone book and I can't tell what you do or that kind of thing. So ultimately you are doing communication, but calling yourself a communication company is going to muddy the water. You have to figure out how to link the value proposition to, the name of the company. Okay? So taglines are good for that. The company that Quick Copy Printing, the company that helps you communicate with through all of their channels or something like that. You can look at like a yeah, but again, I was probably a big, creator of this mess. 15 years ago, solutions, big word. Like we got to sell solutions. Today, it's been watered down so much, like a print solution, and they're just basically a printer. Like they call it a solution, but it's no different than you came in here and asked for 5,000 sheets of letterhead. Well, now everybody says that. So if I'm a customer, what's the difference between that guy saying he's print solutions and you saying you're a print solution? Like I don't get it anymore.
Somebody goes online to Google our product, what are they going to key in?
Printing.
Printing, copy, because that's our name.
Yeah.
That's what
That's what they're looking for.
That's what they're looking for. They're not
Not
looking for you.
necessarily, but that's what they want.
Well, but that's okay. And we would get into a whole. Here's a topic: marketing yourselves for the conference next year.
Well, I think you should have, besides just printer, you need to have everything covered, like marketing service provider.
Right, and you need it locally.
Heck of a long name.
Because when they go, the first thing you do is you Google it.
Yeah. So if I'm looking for somebody to make my print interactive,
In your optimization,
interactive printing, Temple, Texas. Like that's what you have to own. Like if you do just interactive printing, you're going to come up on page 12 because everybody else is ahead of you. But if somebody's like interactive printing, Temple, Texas, you need to be who comes up.
there's a term out there called narrowcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So you do, that's an SEO conversation and not, today's topic, but that ties what you're saying. If I think I need print, then I'm going to do print and you guys are going to come up. If I'm not sure what I need, if I say communication solutions, you're going to get a whole bucket of millions of other things. Okay, so part of how this has to work is your outward marketing needs to be educating. Like print is a piece of the puzzle now, not the entire puzzle. Okay.
Like print media solutions.
Yeah, you could do that. That would be better. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we went to this. So still also very small percentage cross media, but obviously that's growing. So here's the big growth areas. The next few slides is where all the growth is in our industry. Okay? Variable data. Okay? It's more of it and increasing complexity. Yes?
Our shop is based out of Brenham. We probably have a little different niche than
Yeah.
quick copies, but a lot of people do value add and just kind of ping off what she said. The one-on-one, customer rapport, building up that. We get a lot of repeat business because people come in for the letterhead envelope business card. We try and strategize with them and kind of help advise just the overall scope of their business, what they're trying to get, what audiences they're trying to captivate and reach out to and everything. And they take that to heart because we're not at that point picking their pocket. We're trying to really get in those bang for their buck, and then if they're thinking they need a logo first or they're wanting to do these business cards, rack cards, and advertise or communicate or print for their business, they don't even have a brand logo tagline. We try and kind of put the ducks in a row for them, and that really comes back,
Which is that's exactly what you have to do. You're educating the market. Come to us if you don't know what to do. Like we know all that stuff. There's a great new book called Utility, Y-O-Utility. And it's about like that, and it's a long-term thought process because it's basically saying if you come to me with your problem and I tell you how you might fix it, you might not do it today, but down the road you're going to remember that I was the one that told you this was an opportunity. So instead of this you need something today and I answer that education process has to be ongoing and consistent because you're basically trying to get somebody to move from, oh, they're the printing guys, to, oh, they're the guys that can help me with all the other media and help me do a strategy and help me come up with a tagline. And that takes a lot of effort, a lot of consistency, and you can't take your foot off the gas. You just have to keep going at a steady pace on that.
And that's the thing too, I mean, we're outside of Barry and Sharon, we're a 5-man shop, 4 people full-time, or we're at 3 people part-time. But I mean, you know, it can get a little discouraging too, because, you know, it's a lot of, you know, time spent up front. The payoff is probably can put it on paper, you know, because then word of mouth advertising hasn't been really going through the roof.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really advertise for ourselves at all, but we've had more growth probably in the last 2 years than maybe the previous 5 before that, you know.
And you weren't in that marketing certification class, but I showed that slide. The biggest way that, or the most important communication method for small businesses to buy is word of mouth. Like from people they know, because somebody else they know told them to go somewhere else. Like it's the reason they buy stuff. So you know, even though it may seem like, wow, this is hard work and maybe not a lot of payoff, the strategy is good long term. Especially because that's what your value is. Your value is not, hey, we never see you, we just deliver this product and it's great. We did a panel last week, I guess it was, and we had a small digital printer on there, and he's high touch, high value. He's really a marketing guy, you know, who bought a print shop. So he can help you solve like literally anything. But he was also doing a lot of web to print, and at some point he looked at it and he was like, crap, all the best customers who, you know, take advantage of my expertise and I can charge them for that, I'm losing touch with because I hooked them up on web to print, and that wasn't good. So the lesson there is not to get rid of the web to print, is to make sure that your sales strategy is taking that into consideration and you have a reach out plan and you're still continuing to provide that value. Because if you shut that window, after a while, I can go anywhere and, you know, I can get hooked up anywhere.
Your number then.
Yeah. So that's, for your size businesses, you've got to marry those two. You've got to automate in order to keep your costs low and reduce your people count because they're expensive. That improves your productivity. But you've got to, if you do that, then you'd be, you know, Mimeo or Donnelly. Well, you're not going to do that. Your value is the communication and the problem solving and all that. So I've got to do this and not forget to do that. Does that make sense?
When you say web print, right? How will you give that definition?
I have a huge module on that. So, and I'm going to go through all the different kinds of things. And you're exactly right. I shouldn't be just throwing that title around because it's confusing to everybody. But we're going to define the various types in a minute. Okay? All right. So take away variable data big. Okay? Why? Because we now have, everybody's got data. Every business has data of some sort, and the manifestation of that data is personalized communication of some sort. Personalized emails, personalized digital, printing, personalized large format, customized large format, any of that stuff. So this is a big growth area, okay? The next thing is stuff submitted over the web in some form. 67% growth by 2017. Why? Because every business is trying to get rid of people. I had talked to a major printer, one of those 250 employee version guys. He said, my job is to de-employ people. Okay, but wait, he's a big guy. He's not you guys. His value isn't in, you know, hey, how's the kids? You know, like, that's not what he's doing. And he's like, I am competing on price, and people bring my price up. So he invests in technology all day long, and every year that employee count comes down. He's still doing the same volume, if not more, fewer and fewer people. Okay, so a different kind of business, but the point, what that does to you is that happens everywhere. Banks are trying to go with less people. Hospitals are trying to go with less people. The hospital example, I have a friend that's an intensive care nurse. There used to always be an on-call physician, right? In intensive care. Now, they don't have that anymore. They have box TVs in all the rooms. It's an HCA hospital. There's one guy, one doctor on duty for Richmond who sits in the heavens and will look in, it's a two-way screen, look in and tell them what to do for all the ICU patients in 3 hospitals. Why? Cut costs. Technology replacing people. So the point of that is, all of your accounts are doing that. Even your small businesses are trying to do, because people are the biggest cost.
Every grocery store.
Every grocery store, you scan it yourself now instead of having, somebody in line. So the point is, if I'm an end user customer, like your people that you work with, I have more to do today than I've ever had to do. I have to be as productive as possible. So coming downstairs to the Amtrak print shop from 12 floors up, shooting the breeze with the person at the counter, filling out a piece of paperwork in triplicate, walking back upstairs to my office, coming back down 2 days later to pick it up, not good. And whether that person enjoys the experience, I can guarantee their boss doesn't. Their boss doesn't enjoy that experience. So he's saying what that Amtrak print shop guy is saying, what the administrative people are saying to him, oh, thank God I got to get out of the office, I got a cup of coffee, great day. That boss is saying, I don't want to hire any more people. You need to be at your desk. Okay? So whether he's missing the whole point. Okay? So eventually, and you would think the government, right? Total chaos. $17,000 hammers. We got a call from a major, I don't even know if I can say it out loud, major department, okay? And they had an inside print shop. They were like, come, now the head of it, so like the COO of this particular agency, and you all know what it is.
Why do you say that?
Because I don't know if I can tell, so I don't want to tell, because I don't want to get in trouble. So basically, he calls, I need you guys to come in and study the print shop. He's saying, this is a whole lot of money for whatever. Now, this doesn't happen in the government very often, but he said, I don't think we're being a good steward of taxpayer money here. So now, let's hope this is a trend for all of us, okay? But so this guy's like, I don't think we're doing a good job here. I want you to come in. So he came in. They had people making 6 figures punching holes. Okay, basically in the print shop. They had a print shop manager that was one of the, like he could have been the profile for this. Nothing's automated, we're doing all paper, I hire temps to punch more holes when the 6-figure people don't have enough time to punch their holes. Like we have equipment all over the place. So basically we studied it. I wasn't on the team, but I'm buds with the guy who was. And he's like, they had way too much equipment, they had way too much people, they were paying the people too much money. They weren't automated in any way. They weren't offering the right kinds of services to the constituency because they were like almost excited when they couldn't do something. So if a customer came down, hey, can you do that? Oh, no, you're going to have to go somewhere else. Like, okay, so basically that head of the agency was like, shut it down.
Can you give us the link to that so we can...
Yeah, no. I bet we will write a case on it, and if we do, then I will share that with you.
U.S. Post Office.
No, it wasn't the post office. It wasn't the post office, but it was somebody else.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But my point is that if the government is saying, I think we're not being, if anybody in the government is saying I'm not being a good steward of taxpayers' money, I hope it's a trend. But you can imagine if the stupid government is doing that, what the commercial businesses are saying, what the banks are saying. He might, yeah, he might because he's too smart for the government. But of course, my opinions are coming across. But that's, I show you that example because it's kind of extreme and no one would ever suspect the federal government was doing stuff like that.
The post office is making by selling properties now. They have all grandfathered properties.
Yeah, I don't understand. We can talk about that at the break. But anyway, so my point is, everybody needs to automate. That's what a web-to-print solution conceivably, in any of its varieties, which we'll cover in a second, it takes away manual steps. And so if I'm the head of that bank, the head of that manufacturer, the head of that hospital, the head of whatever enterprise it is, I want my people as productive as possible. And picking up the phone 3 times to call the printer, oh, did you get the file? Oh, it's corrupt. Can you send it again? Okay, I sent it again. I'm going to run the proof over. Like all that backing and forthing is not productive. Okay? All right, so and then automation is a necessity. The question on the survey was what percentage of total digital print volume produced by your business is produced in a 100% automated workflow environment? And remember I showed you it's very little before, but look at the none is the big maroon block at the bottom. Okay, so right now we do nothing automated is 51.9% of printers. 2017, that's going to drop down to 19, or they're projecting. Now, the projection is always different. Like, everybody wants to do it, and then there'll be a smaller percentage that actually end up doing it. But that tells you that they know they need to start automating things. Whether they get it done or not, you know, it'll be a smaller chunk. Yes?
Automation is used a lot, right?
Yeah.
So like at some point, you know, humans always involved, right?
Mhm.
Now, mostly you see the robots, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's automation too, right?
Mm-hmm. Look at McDonald's. Does anybody go in McDonald's and they have that carousel that pours the sodas now? Have you seen that? So basically the computer, 2 Diet Cokes, a little headset person, 2 Diet Cokes and a, you know, Dr. Pepper. That message is going to that spinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You can see it, if you go through the drive-through, it's right there, and the little cups just drop, and the little carousel goes around, and it puts a Diet Coke, and then the next one comes, and whatever it tells
But
you.
that's gotta be an expensive piece of equipment.
yeah, but I'm at McDonald's, and how many transactions a day do I do? 1,000? And if I save a minute, you know, on 1,000 transactions, that's half a, you know, I have to do the math, but that's a lot of a person.
Well, and then
What?
you got a revenue miss.
Yeah. Oh, they're actually a mess. Yeah, they've got some issues. But if McDonald's is trying to get rid of people,
Well, that's the most expensive part of your business is people.
yeah, people kill you.
And
You want a spinner? Yeah.
there was actually a university, and I don't know, I've read this article. They put together a print shop that was all JDF enabled, the job format technology. So the files were coming in over the web, coming in directly to the printer. The printer would print it, and it would move out of the printer into the finishing area. It was completely automated. So the jobs came in, were produced, were finished, were packaged. No human being ever touched it.
But we're very
The UPS label, so until somebody picked up the package and put it on the UPS truck to leave, that was the only human interaction.
Yeah.
I think that's what
very
four
expensive.
Yeah, that's what those big, like, you know, the automated. I have a customer who's a smaller, you know, like I think they're about 6.5, almost 7 million. But that's how they load the presses up with paper before they leave. Some guy comes in at 3 when the paper wears out, loads it back up again.
One thing is when you say automation, right? There's a human, you know, action, right? Like we have one customer come in, if somebody doesn't talk, he says, I'm visiting a graveyard. That's another problem. Like you said, so he wants to talk, you know?
Yeah.
That's interaction.
Yeah, that's
automation.
yeah, true.
You know, Kate, though, the
It
other
can-
side,
Sparkles. You know, just because it's hard to hear. We'll get back to that conversation. Yep.
the other side of that situation, though, is an opportunity, because more and more and more automation, for example, if I log on to 4over, if I don't want a 100-pound gloss or, I mean, you know, the box parameters are small. But there are customers out there, like the lawyer, who wants his paper to have, I mean, you know, he wants Crane's electro, and he wants it thermoed, and he wants this and that. Or the financial advisor who isn't going to buy a Vista print presentation folder.
Right.
You know,
That's your customer.
Yes.
But they don't want that customer.
No, they don't.
They don't want that
It's a
customer,
pain.
but we do, and those customers will, I mean, they're going to expect to pay.
Yeah, but
But the problem is, and you're probably about to say what I'm going to say, they expect to pay more, but there's a window within which they expect to pay more, that if you don't do what you need to do, you cannot price it in that window. Like, no one can say, well, I pay double for that. Like, they can't afford that. They are willing to pay more, but what is the amount more? And that's why if the rest of your process is as streamlined as possible, you can afford to do that interaction and still produce it and make money. Does that make sense? I mean, that's the goal for a business like yours. So I still have to automate crap. I can't be like, we're a people business, because that's going to increase your cost beyond that window that they will pay more for. Does that make sense? Okay. No? Sort of, kind of, maybe?
Well, it does, but, you still got that element of business.
What element?
Personalized.
Yeah. if I'm you, when you look at a workflow, and we'll do this in a second. When you look at a workflow, you look at where my value is. Okay, so you guys are looking at this and you're saying, I'm most valuable when I'm having one-to-one interactions with people. So I want to keep that and automate the other crap.
The only problem with that is traffic leakage, and I know I'm not the only one that's doing it, is that interaction and the relationship that we develop with these customers is money. But it's our money. We don't tend to charge enough for that. And it's just like, it happens on a weekly, daily basis almost. I'll be doing something. One of the staff will be doing something, and you're spending all this time on it, and you say, what are we doing here? Well, this guy needs 50 booklets. 50 booklets, and we're spending 8 hours of man time putting this thing together?
Which, let's go back to Mike's point. It conceivably could be a good thing, conceivably, okay? But this is where it breaks down. I do that because I want that guy to come back and he's a $100,000 customer. But
Too many times that's not the
it's
case.
exactly right. So you're exactly right. So what ends up happening, and this will break the whole thing, everybody's getting that?
Yes.
They're only spending the $5,000 or the $2,500 for this job. You can't support that.
That's exactly it.
Now, if I do it because this is a bank and there's $100,000 more behind it, wonderful, okay? But if I am not going to get that, then I have to charge you for that time. And then you're going to be in that hole where it's like the time for that 8 hours now makes that job cost $4,800 and you're not going to pay that difference. You'll go back to 4over or Vistaprint or whatever. So that's where it breaks down.
They're a cookie box, and they want that cookie box, regardless of what your brand is. The cookies inside are going to be the same on every job.
Yeah, but here's
You're
the...
the custom cookie box where you'll put the brownie and Danish in it,
Then we'll put it in a special box.
and we'll put
Yeah.
a special box.
Okay, as long as you're doing that for the right you can't give everyone the deluxe car wash at the regular car wash price and still make money.
But like this guy that wants his 50 books, there is no way he could go to this big commercial printer and, Marianne, here's my file. Okay, got it?
With tons of
Tomorrow
mistakes.
morning, Marianne, I've got another change.
Yeah.
And they want
The
copy.
third time. Marianne, I hope it
forgot
hasn't
one
gone
other
to
thing.
print yet because we need to change one more thing.
Okay, so you need to, that's where that guy has to understand your value.
They don't.
Well, then that may not be,
And when you bring up that value to a person like that, it's like you
What?
literally make them mad.
how,
You say, look, I charge $80 an hour for consulting.
right,
They're going to say, so what?
yeah.
You aren't doing consulting, you're just...
You're taking my order.
You're just taking them out.
Okay, so what does that tell
I
you?
spent 15 minutes on the phone with this same customer, arguing, literally, not,
Not
but
arguing.
arguing. No, he was arguing with me about print setup.
Okay, so what does that tell us?
About print setup.
What does
He
that
was
tell
telling
us?
me how to do my job, and I'm sitting there thinking,
You need a
why
box
am
print
I?
shop.
And finally, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why am I even talking to this guy?
Then you need to
I
say,
said, at the end of the discussion, if you want us to do the job, we'll do it. If not,
go somewhere else. Like, that's the biggest thing. Remember, one of those slides showed that, like, the fourth thing down for improving the business was focus verticals, refine my focus. That's actually what that conversation is. You're not my good customer. Now, do you be obnoxious to them? No, because of the word of mouth. You just say, hey, look, this is what it's costing me to spend this much time with you. I can either charge you for that or I can't do it.
But he did come back.
Yeah, and
He's still printing his book.
and
I
the
would
next time he walks out, he says, Marianne, your husband is the greatest guy.
sometimes they just need to be told. Okay? Yeah, but the thing inside of that was, at some point, you didn't lower your price, right? You increased your price. Okay, so at some point, he decided it's worth the price.
Yeah,
And then he is a good customer. So it's okay for you to say no. Because,
Well, that's another thing. The first time he came in 4 months ago to price this job,
oh my God.
yeah, I want a booklet, color cover, black and white, inside, okay? disappeared. Didn't hear from him for literally for 4 months. He showed up the other day and said, okay, I'm ready to do this and I need it done by next Wednesday. And Mary Ann comes in and she says, you still have the stuff on that? I said, yeah, it's somewhere, I'll find it. You know, we got the folder, I didn't throw it away yet. And then she says, and then she comes in and she says, oh, there's a small adjustment. I said, what's that? Well, it's gone from 28 pages to 48 pages. And it's all
Small adjustment.
I
Okay.
said, wait a minute, we're talking about a whole new estimate.
We might have to spend some time
So she
defining
gets the
small.
estimate And it's like,
Yeah.
And he says, would y'all like to buy an ad in this?
Oh, good
She
God.
looked at me and she repeated what he's saying on the phone. She looked at me and I said, no.
Okay, so the question though is what's behind that though, Don?
I don't know.
Dan, what's behind that? Like, so if there's nothing behind that and the guy's going to do one book every 4 years, like, we could make the argument should have walked away. Okay, yes.
How would you judge that customer as a bad customer?
If there's $100,000 behind it, he's an okay customer. If there's nothing behind it,
I don't know yet.
what do you do for a living, Mr. Customer? Like those entry-level questions, like, oh, well, you know, I sell consulting and I'm making these books up for various vertical markets. Oh, are you going to do different vertical markets? Yes, I'm going to do A.
I finally
He's a
found out the answer
retired
to that.
military type,
Yeah.
I'm going to.
This is a hobby.
On the realm of in 2 weeks.
So basically, you need to get your money out of that job. And if he won't pay the $4,800 or whatever because you put your $80 an hour in there, then he's not a good customer. Okay, because there's no payoff, like Mike was saying in the back. Like, I can do that work and then you can come back and there can be a lot of work, then it's worth it. It's an investment and it paid off. This is an investment that you're going to lose money on. Okay, so that's just the way that it is. All right, so automation, big thing. And then this pulled out the implants. Look at what the implants say they're going to do. 96% growth in wanting to be able to produce it automated. That is not going to happen. Okay? That is so not going to happen, but that's what they think they want to do. Okay? Cross media, another key. I know we've been all around that. We're going to talk about automating the cross media because that's a big problem. 48% growth there. Okay, so in a nutshell, find as much variable data as you can. Yes?
Very quick question for you in the class. In a situation like that where you have your good and bad customers, and maybe it comes to a time where you fire the customer, or maybe there's a certain aspect of the job where the whole job you thought was quoted and estimated, appropriately, but then, things get added, this isn't there, there was A and B, and now there's C, D, and E, whatever. And so the price naturally goes up, it can't go down.
No, we can't.
Then your customer decides to walk away before the job's finished. How is the best way to keep your word of mouth, marketing positive? How's the best way to, there's got to be a way to get some type of compensation for that, your design time, something like that, even though if it's been an email, how's the best way to go about making sure that you can at least cover your costs?
Yeah.
Donating your time and money, because that happens a lot.
Yeah, good question.
People change something, or that you told them 3 weeks, I need 2 weeks for, design, proof, and editing, and finish, to produce this job, and then you can get the file in, 6 business days, and that's just, now there's a rush fee because of that.
Right.
They don't want to, eat that, but we're not making the deal.
Right, I agree. Okay, so let me hear what everybody else has to say on that. What do you do?
Deposit.
Oh, okay. So we got deposit, we got to get it in writing.
I've done that, ask for a deposit.
On large jobs of half.
Right.
And so you take that 50%, that should cover your time and your costs.
Right.
If it's a new customer, deposit is not, because we did one $28,000 deposit, $25,000 deposit on the job. And they didn't have a problem.
We've done that.
It's like in mail processing, I got it on.
If it's a known entity and they do business with you all the time, they're not going to walk off. You don't need the deposit.
And most of them don't, if
If
they're,
it's somebody that walks through the door, you've never done business with them, it's a large project, you feel a little iffy about it, yeah, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and take a deposit, get started on your job promptly. That way you can.
Or even if you start, because you do a lot of jobs, but if you get that feeling, just stop there and say, okay, look, we're at this point, we're gonna need a deposit now to proceed.
That's a good way to
Start
do
getting
it,
that
too.
feeling that, because,
You'll know.
They're
people
changing
think
stuff, they're
they
going back and forth,
spend
it's
hours of your
taking
time, and
longer.
if they don't
than
go
you
with you,
could-
they don't.
I don't do business charges now either paid up front or a 50% deposit.
If there's any doubt, you need a
Yeah,
Unless it's an ongoing customer.
I would say that the thing to think about is when the customer's going to realize value. Okay, so let's say I have to have a meeting with them and ask all the questions and get the logic, but then the next step is I come back and say, okay, I thought about it, this is what I want to do. They now have value. They have to pay at that point because they could walk, but now they have the value of your expertise. Then the next point is we went through design. Well, you have to pay for that because you're going to have a design whether you end up printing it or not. You know, so look at it from when the customer will realize, at the point that they start to realize value, which is you going back with your idea, they have to start paying.
And I've never, that I can remember, had done that to somebody and them say, oh, well, never mind. They're like, sure, no problem. Here's my credit card. I can drop a check off, blah, blah, blah. They'll usually be very nice about it.
But you need to let them know up front in
Right.
earlier of the stage that you will require a deposit.
Before you start charging them things, let them know what it's going to be that you're tacking on or whatever, and just always keep, the communication and let them know, and they will not care. They won't bat an eye.
And as soon as they change the project, because they will, it's going to cost you more than what we talked about originally.
Yeah.
But just let them always know up front.
We tell them that up front, a lot of times, they still, it's like they don't connect the dots. We have some corporate clients and stuff that generate some better revenue, but we do have a lot of private sector people that, just come back for the, nickel and dime jobs, but it all adds up,
Mm-hmm.
But then, there's times, I guess, when that's been an issue and it's been okay to require that deposit, and there's some people that, I guess, you feel a little more hesitant to ask them just because you don't want them to walk away and lose their business completely.
Let them walk away, rather than
Because
walk
you're
away
losing
now.
business, you're profit, not non-profit. Let them walk away, go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, like if the restaurant serves you food and you skip out on the bill, the restaurant's going to lose money. Like I've provided you with service and you need to pay me for that. So I think part of that is understanding we're not a printer gets paid on the completion of the print job anymore. We're a services company that gets paid because we gave you strategy, because we gave you design, because we, did these other various pieces. So I get paid for the conclusion of those things.
And if they have a problem paying, are they going to have a problem paying when it's completed? Right?
Yeah.
And
They
that's
won't pay you now.
Yeah. I mean,
they're really out.
yeah, one mistake there and it could be extremely
I
costly.
mean, their expectations in dealing with print businesses, copy businesses, whatever, I think has been a traditional expectation that we've allowed them to make. And it's our own fault. I mean, when you go to McDonald's and order your meal, what do you pay for? After you get it or before?
Before.
You never think about it. You just do it, okay? And so we kind of done that because we wanted to have a professional relationship. We didn't want to be, money only up front type thing. But we've got to kind of change our attitude a little bit. The deposit thing works a lot better than saying, we expect you to pay it up front. But sometimes if it's a brand new customer, even a business card, they walk in, we know what our business cards cost, and they say, awesome, $86 a thousand. You want to pay for it today with credit card or cash? And they're going to pay for it. They don't think that. They pay for it. But you're right. When you get into these long projects, it's just like this guy. I was talking about earlier. There's this thing in my mind that sort of goes off and says, okay, he's working me to death. What about the payment?
Mm-hmm.
and that's when you start thinking, do I need to ask him to pay me now?
Yeah.
And at that point, yes.
Usually if you feel that way,
If it starts getting to the point where I've been doing this or going back and forth for 3 days, 6 times a day, because this person's telling me they changed their mind, because their boss changed their mind, then that person didn't like what he said, so they changed their mind and they changed it. You need to just charge them for your time, put that money in your pocket.
she's right. Is that what you were talking about when you guys were talking?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right.
They came back for a third change. At that point, I would, and if you track everything on email, that a lot of times.
That's what I usually do.
Send that email and then just
Make sure
explain,
they
this is
reply.
our third change. We only included in our base price one change.
We do.
At this point, this is what the charges are going forward, just like you. Because we've had people that, like she said,
Graphic
it's like
design.
10 or 15, her boss changes it, she approves it, sends it back, takes it to his boss, he changes something, and it goes up the ladder.
Oh,
And
nonprofit
change
committees are the
time.
worst.
Oh, God.
And they need it right now for really cheap, but.
Once
but
they know
they're
you're gonna be
forever
charged
make
$15,
changes.
$25 every time, they'll look at everything.
We usually give them one
all
or
at
two
once
changes.
instead of
Yeah, I totally
And then you gotta start charging.
Well, now, it's better to take that information now and know that with a nonprofit. Like, is it, like now I know that. So when you present what you're going to do for that nonprofit, typically this goes back to the insight selling that we talked about in the marketing certification. Like you know more about how this process is going to work than they do, because you work with multiple nonprofits. They're just one. So you need to be able to say, typically it goes through this type of a process, and that's what, we've included that. We've taken that into consideration. Then, well, what do I have to do to lower my price? Well, don't do that. Okay, well, then we'll come back once. Okay, fine, but if you don't come back once, I have to charge you because it costs us money to do it. Yeah, and then back to if they pay up front, if they were buying it online, they have to swipe that little credit card.
Can you even do like, a long time ago, you could like order stuff and it would be like COD, like cash on delivery. That doesn't even happen anymore. So why would you be COD? Swipe your credit card first.
Yeah. Okay, so just to round out that module, the big areas, like look for more variable data, look for, how you can automate your customers' processes and yours as well with the web to print options, grow your cross-channel business, automate your internal processes, okay? All right, so web to print trends, this is just background data, and Adam can probably chime in. How many web to print software systems do you own? Like you would think one, right? But obviously it's not. None is the burgundy, one is the yellow, but look at the numbers of people that have 2 to 4 different types of solution. Why is that? Because nothing does it all. Okay, so I may be using a printer's presence option for business card submission. I may be using, my order desk for something else. I may have printable because we got a big corporate client and they wanted, a 20 document catalog. So really the people that are big into this typically have more than one option. Okay. The other thing that would play into this, just my experience, is they don't know how to sell it. So what ends up happening is they go in, we can do that for you. They don't really understand their system and what it could do. They come back, this is what the customer needs. Oh, well, we can't do that. Well, they don't want to go back and say no customer or renegotiate with the customer. They end up buying something else that now does what they sold, which if they'd have known what they had to sell, they wouldn't have gotten there. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so number of web to print storefronts. So this is how many customers are hooked up that way. So look at the middle band, that's the other printers. So 2 to 4 is the yellow, 5 to 9 is the green, 10 to 14 is the orange, and 18.5 represents people who have 15 or more catalogs or storefronts. Okay. Now, why do people switch? Okay. The top reason is unacceptable performance. In the corporate world, it's like really that's their biggest reason. In the commercial world, it's better integration. So I have this standalone web to print solution that isn't feeding my MIS, so now I have a bottleneck at billing or entering it into my costing system, so I need something that will work seamlessly. So that's the biggest reason why the printers change. Other important reasons: easier to use interface, broader feature set, stuff like that. They want to expand what they can do. The problem is not, this is what happens when you don't sell it right, is you have short-term sites. This is a sticky solution, and theoretically, it should stay for a lot of time, okay? When you're paying attention to the commercial band, 6 to 11 months. Somebody did a whole bunch of work and didn't get a big payoff on that. The green is 1 to 2 years. Okay, why is it changing? Why am I not just continuing to meet your needs and adding capabilities to that, and it's a 5 or 6 year or longer? Why is that many people not having it after 2 years? Now, why do you think? I know why, but why do you think?
I think what they want to buy is changing.
Okay.
And the solution that we have becomes not compatible with.
Okay, that's good. Okay, that's anybody any other ideas? Okay, this is what happens with how many of you have sites just doing like business cards? Like people send business card stuff in. Couple? Okay, there's a ton of sites like that. Okay, nobody's gone back to them to say, hey, can you automate your marketing? Can you put postcard templates on there? Can you do other stuff? So at some point, another vendor comes in, talks to the marketing people about document catalogs, collateral type of a system, and oh yeah, by the way, oh, we could do that letterhead, and the business, so I switch over to that vendor, and you lose it, okay? A lot of the franchises are in that boat because they hopped on the bandwagon to facilitate the business card ordering because it was such a pain in the butt. They fixed that, but they haven't tried to grow it. So they're ripe for someone else who's selling a broader solution to come in, okay? So anyway, you should basically, this is sticky. Like if you do it right, you should solve a problem and then continuing to solve other problems, adding products in, expanding what you can do via your web-to-print solution. So in a nutshell, one solution may not do it all. Improved performance, integration, and customer experience are driving the upgrade process, and growing companies focus on selling that right. Not just like fixing one application and running, they're fixing that one application and then they're growing it, making it stickier. Okay, so why do you care? Here's the revenue outlook. Company's revenue outlook for 2015 versus 2014. So we're actually fairly optimistic as an industry. So, you know, there isn't even really, that decline is real small. The purple band increased by 10 to 19%. The 36 blue band increased by 1 to 9. 18.2 is no change. So, you know, there's a huge chunk of people whose perception is it's getting better. Reasons why their business is growing now, okay? Because we've expanded our service offerings. In your neck of the woods, that's a lot about wide format, because remember those wide format numbers had gotten bigger, and digital color. We've invested in more efficient equipment. That's probably skewing, you can see it's a bigger number on the corporate side. For the print for pay or commercial, people that make money at it, there's still a big chunk of people that they're growing their business because they're doing it more profitably. Specializing in niche segments and applications. There's your vertical focus. I'm not doing the stuff that I don't make money on, which later on we're going to talk about your scenario where can I even tell? Did I actually make money on the guy with the book, 24 books that turned into 48? Like because their MIS isn't good, they don't know if they made money on that or not. So how do I know if I want more of it? I don't know, so I keep doing more of it when in fact I'm losing money the whole time. Okay? Demand conditions have improved. Some people think that. We've invested in sales and marketing. Okay, so those are the reasons why their business is taken off, the top ones. Now here's where the revenue is coming from. This is 2013 numbers. We don't have the 2014 numbers yet. But there's that breakdown again. Offset printing, you know, going down. It'll continue to go down. There's still time to evolve, but focus is the key. So there's still plenty of opportunity out there. But like if you just keep like, I don't know what to do, I'm not going to do anything, like that window is shrinking. Because other people, you saw those numbers, they're investing. They want to do it this in 12 months, or they just have made investments. If you looked at that versus last year, you could see how many people actually did do what they wanted to do. So people know this, businesses in our industry know they have to automate, they know they have to expand the service offering, they know it. So your competitors are trying to do it. And here's what happens when you add services. Here's your top challenges. Sales, okay? Now, the implants, look at that mess. Okay, they have a sales problem. They just don't realize it, okay? So they aren't saying, oh, I'm gonna add that I can do mobile codes now, but nobody's going to know. So all the people that were sending that out before are going to continue to send it out before, unless they have first right of refusal, which very few do. Like, they don't get that they actually have to sell.
I don't think they can.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. But basically, that's just another nail in their coffin. Okay? From that higher up person, so go back to that government agency, I invested money in that and you're not selling it. Like, you're not doing it. I'm not happy with that. Not having the right skill mix, no clear vision or strategy, I think that's a biggie. Technical challenges, lack of time to develop what it is that I want to do. I'm so busy doing the work, I'm not thinking about what I should be doing. Investment limitations, not enough demand, on down the list. All right, so there's still plenty of growth areas in our business, perhaps even more than there were, when I first started talking to you guys 2.5 years ago. There will be sales, you go into everything knowing you're going to have sales, training, technology, investment, strategy challenges. They exist. Those are the things you want to try to fix before you go in. And you want to develop a vision and then make the plan that will get you where you want to go, because you're not in a position to do it all at once. So what you don't want to do is, I just did one thing and stop. Okay? So it's better to have, I know what I want to do. It's going to take me a few years to get there, but this is the progressive steps I'm going to take to get there. And that's that last point. Okay? Time for a workshop. So we will, I'm going to give you a good long time to do this, so you can get up and go to the restroom and take that break thing in the midst of this as well, okay? So where do you stand? I want you to, and you may not know these numbers, exactly, but you should have a ballpark, and if you don't, then that's why the MIS is probably important. Value-added services, which is going to be design. We did marketing strategy for you, some of the things that you're talking about back in the back. Programming, anything like that you did, okay? Wide format, if you're not doing it, you're going to have a 0 there, but if you are doing it, how has that grown? Digital printing, finishing, other. So remember that slide that kind of showed, here's where it was in 2012 and 2014. What did you look like 2014 to 2013? Okay? So fill that in, estimate your growth, and then what do you think is going to happen this year? Okay? This is going to be our starting point for, okay, what do we do to make this better? Okay? And I'm here if you have questions. Okay, Gary, you want to turn me off?